Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for Rutland City School Board Candidate Forum. My name is Jim Sabataso. I am the news editor at the Rutland Herald, and I'll be serving as tonight's moderator. We're very pleased to be part of this forum tonight, held in partnership with our friends at PEG TV. As moderator, I'm going to be asking questions of the candidates tonight over the next 60 minutes. The questions were generated by Herald editors and were not seen by the candidates in advance. Candidates will have 90 seconds each to answer. This town meeting day, voters will be choosing from a field of 5 candidates to fill 4 seats on the school commission. Now I'd like to introduce the candidates, starting with Ryan Carney, Heather Hauk, Kevin Kefauver, incumbent, Mary McDonald, and incumbent Kathy Salsa. All right, thank you everyone for being here tonight. If we're ready, we're going to do introductions. You'll each get 90 seconds to give opening remarks, and we'll be choosing who goes first and rotated tonight by drawing names. And we will start with the first name here. And Kathy, you're leading us off.
Okay. You'll tell me when I...
Yep, 90 seconds starting now.
Hi, I'm Kathy Salsa, and I'm running for school board. I'm reaching the end of my first term, and I look forward to using the experience I've gained in a second term. I began my service at the beginning of COVID, which had its own set of unique and difficult challenges for education. But a highlight was being on a team representing Rutland, working for new legislation on equitable education funding. Rutland kids will likely benefit from this new legislation with no additional cost. Another highlight was district-wide strategic planning. Students, parents, teachers, administrators, city officials, and local leaders collaborated to describe competencies essential for our kids as they move from kindergarten to graduation and beyond. There is more work ahead, and I'm excited to be a part of the evolution. As a parent whose 4 children have moved through RCPS from K through 12, and as someone who has 3 years' experience, with 1 as board clerk, I bring broad perspectives to the issues. Despite challenging times, we are in a period of growth and recovery. COVID funding is providing material infrastructure and programs to support the wellness and success of our students. I believe that if we start with a positive environment that includes everyone, we can deliver a world-class education to our students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kathy. Ryan?
Hello, my name is Ryan Carney. I am the former drumline instructor for the Castleton Athletic Bands and currently bar manager at Homestyle Hotel in Ludlow. But you may also recognize me from my time at Roots the Restaurant. I am a proudly queer, gender nonconforming millennial parent with ADHD and 2 young children going through the Rutland City Public School system currently. Society at large is changing rapidly, and we need people on our school board who recognize that and greet it with acceptance. We need advocates for arts education, which nationwide doesn't have the best support. We need a perspective change, and that's what I intend to do.
Thank you. Heather?
Hi everyone, I'm Heather Hauk. I'm a mom of 4 kids in our Rutland City school system. I'm sure many of you have seen me running around town, chasing after them, dropping them off, picking them up at events, sporting events, and probably downtown at the farmers market. I'm excited to be running for a seat on our local school board as I've been very involved in our school system as our kids have been growing up. Next year, we'll have 4 children in 4 different Rutland City public schools, and I've been passionate volunteering in the schools, stepping forward on the open houses, field days, and recently plugging into the local school board meetings. I'm excited because I'm passionate about supporting everyone, and as a parent with kids in our schools, I feel like I would be a great representative of the community, and I have lots of history and experience in business, so I feel like I would bring that to the table as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Kevin?
Hi, my name is Kevin Kefauver. I'm just coming to the end of my first term on the school board. I decided to run again this time because the current school board makeup is a bunch of new folks at having served one term, I'm one of the old guys, which is a little different, but I thought it would be important to continue with an experienced person on the board. As Kathy mentioned, we started at the beginning of COVID, and that was a really strange introduction to school board to schools. I mean, it was strange for all the students and teachers as well. My work background is I'm a retired clinical social worker, guidance counselor. I'm currently working part-time at Otter Valley, just keeping my hand in the business. I have 2 adult children that went through Rutland Town and then Rutland High School, that were involved in sports and other activities at the school. I think one of my strengths is that I bring calm, rational, responsible decision-making to the board, and I'd like to continue doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Mary?
Hi, I'm Mary McDonald. I am a mother of 9, 4 of which have been through the Rutland City Public School systems, have graduated, and gone on to colleges. I have 5 that are currently enrolled in the system. I own and operate my own preschool, which is a 5-star child care preschool out of my home. It's part of the Act 166 for Vermont, and we work directly with the Rutland City Public Schools. I have a teacher that comes in and works with my children at the child care. During the COVID pandemic, at one point I was teaching children from K through 12 virtually with all the other teachers at my facility. I am running for a seat on the board because I believe that I bring a lot to the table. I've been in the community for many years. I'm a paraeducator at the schools, a sub-teacher. I also am an LNA, so I work at some of the nursing homes here and there. I help with, my children and I created a side business called YCC. It's a youth communist club where we have worked directly with Boys and Girls Club, where the kids came in and worked and helped out with specialized childcare and things like that. I do work with DCF as well, and I am running to build on what we have and develop it from there. I think what we have is great, and we just need to move forward, making it greater.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our first round of questions, and we'll draw the next name. All right, we'll be beginning with Kevin. All right, first question. Violent student behavior and bullying continues to be an issue in city schools, as it does in many schools around the state and the country. What additional steps beyond existing policies should the district take to protect students from bullying and violence?
Well, that's a really good question. I think the programs that we have and that we're building are really helpful. We have a number of programs, the names of which are, I'm drawing a blank. There's a program that started last year with Erica Wallstrom that Michelle Fountain is running now. That's a smaller group program in the middle school that's really helpful. In the classrooms, there's also teaching social emotional learning and social skills, which is also really important. For the most part, students who become out of control behaviorally are in difficult situations at home and in their life in general, and we need to offer those students supports. We have good counselors, but I think we have some vacancies that we need to fill. I think there isn't anything drastically different that we need to do except fill those positions. But I think for the most part, we have good programs in place, and we need to allow them to do what they do best. Thank you.
So what I think we should do is, I think we need more police on the grounds, not to, threaten anybody or show any, just for security purposes, so children feel safer. I think the officer that visits the school maybe once a week now, because he does all of them, and they only have one officer now that goes to the schools. Back a couple years ago, we had like 2 or 3 different ones. I think we need more staffing. I think we need to listen to the teachers more so that we can understand where they think that this animosity or the stuff between the children is starting. I think there's been way too many clear the hallway situations where children have had to go into lockdown because one kid is unaccounted for and he's in the hallway when he shouldn't be. And I think, more staffing is one of the major things that we can do, and more officers, or even if we hired a security company that's around that could go in and just kind of, check things out. I think that would be something that the parents would want to. I think that the programs that we have are definitely working. I think the counselors are doing the best they can. I just think that they need our support, and we need to ask them what they think we should do as well. Thank you.
Kathy?
So I think that that learning, the first element in learning is to have a safe environment for teachers and students. Without a safe environment, it's really difficult to gear into learning, whether it's social and emotional learning or academic learning. And so given that we've just come out of a pandemic, we're going to be dealing with a range of behaviors that we haven't seen before in our lifetimes because we haven't had a pandemic before. And so one of the things that we're getting to utilize ESSER funds, which are the emergency COVID funds, is to develop new programs, bring in specialists to help with kids' behavior. It's a staffing issue. So I would encourage administration to really broaden their recruiting efforts to get more counselors in, and also offer our current teachers and staff more opportunities for learning how to deal with different behaviors. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ryan?
So social emotional learning is definitely a huge part of this. I know that I do my best for my children to make sure that they learn all these certain social emotional behaviors that are things that are helpful and maybe things that aren't so helpful. Besides that, our social workers and counselors in our schools are definitely the best way to get through to kids. They need to feel safe. And sometimes a show of force isn't the best way that we can do that to them. Having it teaches them to be frightened of people in power, possibly. And so having a little bit more support for the social workers and counselors would definitely be a good idea. I would definitely agree with Kathy on that, especially with training for de-escalation for teachers, because that is, they are our front line with our kids, and they see our kids every day for many hours a week, and so we just need to make sure that they have the tools that they need to make sure that a situation can be resolved peacefully.
Thank you. Heather?
So violence and bullying is an issue in schools everywhere, not just our school. And the truth is that many students are in the school system or with teachers more than they are at home. During the school day, some are there before school, some are there for sports and after school care. We have great programs for after school because parents are working. Parents can't always be there at 2:30 or 3 when school gets out. But at the end of the day, school has to be a welcoming, safe environment for everybody, our teachers and our students. I agree that having a resource officer is important. I've seen Officer LaGuardia in the middle school. He's incredible. And he's just one man, but he'll be on recess playing basketball with the kids. He's at the field days, throwing water balloons, doing all the things. And he's creating a positive, comfortable contact between the students so they feel safe to report any issues if there are any moving forward. And it helps the students know that there is, other than the teachers, someone safe to go to, and a little accountability too. I think some may feel like that may be safe having a resource officer, a police officer nearby. Not to say that that's the only answer. We don't need a million resource officers, but he's been an amazing positive presence in our schools, and perhaps having another wouldn't hurt. Identifying student struggles is also very important, and giving our teachers the best tools to help the students meet their needs and to help the students that are struggling is essentially important and, well, essential.
Thank you, Heather. Great. All right. Our next question, we will begin with Mary. And the question is, within school districts, there's often a tension between maintaining student confidentiality and accountability and transparency. This can result in families in the greater community becoming frustrated with the ways in which information about incidents regarding student safety are communicated. What should the district be doing to be more transparent and accountable to the community?
I think it's a fine line, to be honest. And I'm literally coming from a parent. I'm not a politician. I'm not, I'm just here. I'm literally a parent. Your information is going to get out. If something happens, everybody's going to know about it, and it's, So, but I think as a district, we should hold, ourselves accountable and make sure that we don't release the information. And as hard as we'll do that, what we're doing now is the best we can do. I don't know. The kids talk. There's texts. There's videos. I mean, they have all this access to stuff. So when we do our best to keep the confidentiality, and I get parents are going to get upset, that there's really, besides, asking everybody to not, spread the word per se, I think the schools are doing a great job with confidentiality. I really do. I don't hold them accountable anytime any information that I've ever had a problem with or my friends that have gotten out. And I think that going forward, the only thing we can do is just educate people on how important it is to not get that information out, because unfortunately it causes more problems sometimes. So at this point, I think they're doing as much as they can, honestly.
Are you talking about confidentiality around one specific issue? Or one category of issues, or are you talking?
Student safety, we often hear anecdotally about incidents that happen that students or staff may talk about, but that perhaps we don't, as necessarily the greater community doesn't get the full accounting of what happens, and leads to rumor and confusion.
I think that confidentiality is really important. We're talking about kids, and we're not unbiased when it comes to our kids or our friends' kids. And I think it's very important to keep the confidentiality of families and children. I understand why transparency is important, but there's a hierarchy to mediate issues that come up. You can work through the channels that exist in procedure, policy and procedure, and then outside of that, I don't feel it should be information that's accessible to anyone.
Thank you. Ryan?
Confidentiality is definitely an important thing. It's a way to make sure, especially with younger people, that that they're in a trusting and safe environment. Obviously, sometimes we do need, there's transparency so that it can be definitely a gray area, because it can involve some situations that are very tough to talk about. or at least can spread, can turn into issues that are way bigger than they actually were. And so I do think that we just need to be able to talk to our kids and make sure that they know that they're in that safe, trusting environment. That's why confidentiality is important.
Thank you. Heather?
Transparency and confidentiality are both very important in different areas as far as I'm concerned. So from a parent's perspective, for safety, transparency is important as far as major events, bomb threats, active shooter threats. Our whole state received a number of, random schools received active shooter bomb phone calls, which ended up being a hoax. But from a parent standpoint, if you don't know that's going on, we now live in a time when children have phones and can text you. The community can text. So it's scary. And if the parents aren't notified that this is happening, it creates chaos and confusion amongst the community, which is scary. So in that sense, transparency is important, mixed with confidentiality. So if there's specific children involved, if there are specific teachers involved, confidentiality is very important from both the administrative perspective and from the student's perspective. It's so important for parents to have that conversation, that we now live in a world where you can text or put on social media or share on Facebook what is happening, but it's not appropriate to do so. So I think it's important for us as parents to tell and have that conversation with our children that individual events must be kept private, names should be kept off of social media, but from a school standpoint, for safety concerns, it's important to share major events that are going on so the community feels safe and reassured.
Thank you, Heather. Kevin?
As a social worker, confidentiality is really, really important, especially when we're talking about children and discipline situations. If it's really a matter of perspective. If you can put yourself in the position of either that student or that student's parents, you wouldn't want the rest of the community talking about the disciplinary process that that student is going through. That should not be public knowledge. That needs to be kept private. As Heather pointed out, school-wide situations, the information about that is going to get out, but it's really, I think our schools are doing a good job these days of getting out the real information, the information about that hoax. I was at Otter Valley, and they were one of the schools that got that call, and the student body and the parents were informed almost before the teachers were. It was really quick. And I think all of our schools are pretty aware of that and doing a really good job of that. So yes, there can be transparency, but not about individual students and individual situations. The thing about students is, through our discipline process, we want to make it so that that student can return to school and be successful in the school environment. And in order to do that, the disciplinary process needs to be confidential. And that's really important. Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin. Next question will begin with Ryan. And it is, what role does the school board play in developing curriculum?
I think the school board should play a depending on the situation, it could play a role in curriculum development, only in a way that we need to make sure that we're not keeping information away from our children. We are learning about a lot of schools in other different parts of the nation where there are cut classes or there's cut programs where people aren't actually able to learn about, say, like certain aspects of history. I think that if or like say, there's like we're not able to talk about gender identities or anything like that, which is, hugely important, and make sure that our kids have the ability to actually appropriately identify themselves. So in a way that we need to make sure that our kids aren't being denied knowledge. If we feel that our kids are being denied knowledge, do I think that we could step in? I would not want to say yes off the top. I definitely think that is a conversation that would eventually be needed to have with, say, specific teachers, but that's about it.
Thank you. Heather?
I believe that the curriculum should be developed by the teachers and the administration. The school board's role is more to ensure that a variety of classes are being offered, that standards are being met, that our students are given the opportunities to learn what they need to learn to succeed in life, and what they want to learn. History is so important, and it's important that we are given the opportunity to learn that. Arts are important, music and physical activity is important. So all of these things are important for teachers to be given the opportunity to choose how they teach. And I feel that the school board should be there to make sure that the variety is offered and that as I said, the benchmarks are being met. And it's fun. I've sat in on a few school board meetings. I think our school is doing an amazing job. And, how do you choose where to go? There's so many things to learn about. But I think that Rutland personally is doing a fantastic job. And it's fun to watch and see. Having kids in the school, they're excited to come home and take these new classes. So it's very fun.
Thank you. Kevin?
Curriculum is really not, I could echo what Heather just said. She did a great job there. Curriculum is, the experts are the teachers and the administration. If there's questions that come up about curriculum, the school board can play a mediating role, like talking with the parents about what their concerns are, talking with community members about their concerns, talking with the teachers about why their priorities are the way they are. But the school board does not set curriculum. I personally would be opposed to limits on what we can and can't teach. Banning books is absolutely off the table as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. There's not a whole lot more to say. Well, first of all, Heather did a good job. And then, it's not really the school board's job for the most part. Thank you.
I think, again, it's not the school board's job to build curriculums or create them. It's individually done by a teacher for each classroom for the students that are coming in based on the observations and the assessments that the teachers have done on the children they'll be working with. So I don't think it's our job to do that. I think what our job is to support the teachers after they have built their curriculum and support them in any way we can, whether it be materials, tools, an aid, extra money for a field trip that some of the class maybe does not want to go to. I think our job is to find the connections in the community that can help the teachers and our staff members and our schools to build the exact curriculums and programs that they want for our children. We have many, many programs right here in our community that are willing to give huge discounts. I've spoken to dance studios. I know the Boys and Girls Club is one of them that does work with us directly. But I think that our job is to be aware and know what the teachers need to teach our children and to make those connections for them and find those in their community. So if a teacher comes up and says, I'm working with the children and we're going to do some sensory stuff on such and such subject, we want to connect them with the Wonder Feet Museum and have them go do a visit there, things like that. I think our job is to find the connections and connect the teachers to the tools and materials they need to build their own curriculums. I think that they're the experts, they need to build it, and we support them.
Thank you. Kathy?
The role of the school board, the function of the school board is to oversee policy and the budget. That is our role, and we work with the superintendent. The superintendent is the board's one employee, and then there's sort of a tree of responsibility that falls down from that. So from a teacher's perspective, having all the different board members coming at them with their individual ideas could really make it difficult for teachers. So you really try to work through the superintendent and have that conversation. You know, the budget dictates a lot of curriculum, the number of teachers that we have, and ultimately it's the taxpayers who vote on the budget. So there's not any one person or one entity that forms the curriculum or really anything that happens. It's a huge district. It's a lot of moving parts and pieces. I guess that's my answer, is that is the role of the school board, and not, I would like to say that I'm against censorship 100% entirely. Schools are for learning, for gaining knowledge, and not a place for censorship.
Thank you. Kathy brought up budget, so let's talk budget. We'll be kicking off the next round of questions with you, Heather, and it's about the budget, like I said. So what are your thoughts on the proposed budget for the district? As a board member, where would you look to see to make cuts? Conversely, are there any areas you might consider not cutting or spending more money in?
Well, I haven't looked closely at the proposed budget for this year, but as a whole, I supporting our faculty, staff, teachers, and students. So it's important to give them the means that they need to educate our students in a fun, modern way possible. And, you know, the budget isn't just education, it's also provides resources that help enable our teachers to do their job. So I supporting them. As far as what I would cut, you know, I'm not sure of where I would go there. But I do supporting our school, our students, and giving them the best resources possible to succeed. And, you know, that can be divided out along materials, along mental health, helping employ officers, resource officers, and social emotional help for our students, because that goes back to the whole issue we were talking about in previous questions with bullying, with violence. I feel that goes back to troubles in home, and that would be a great way to help combat that. So I supporting our family and the budget, and our students, and the budget is a great way to do that.
Kevin.
Okay. I was on the board, we approved the budget, so I stand behind what the current budget involves. One of the things, if you've looked at the budget and compared it to previous years, there's quite a bit more total money being spent this year, but that money is not local taxpayers' money. A lot of that money is ESSER funds, as Kathy mentioned earlier. Our school district has done a great job of making use of federal funds through ESSER to fix up school buildings. There's lots of new floors in different places, and asbestos being, abatement is the word. Asbestos being removed and replaced with safer materials. And so if you look at the budget and you notice that it's higher this year than in previous years, that's because a lot of that money is going to, is federal money that we have to report spending it, but it doesn't actually come from local taxpayers. I think we do a really good job of making the most of Ted Plemenos, our finance guru, is great. We have done great jobs buying new school buses, and anyway, I think the budget is great. I wouldn't cut anything.
Thank you. Mary.
Well, I got a quick look at the budget. I didn't get to look at the whole thing, so basing off what I just looked at. But I have supported the budget in the past many years. I voted for the budget. I think what I just heard, that it sounds like, you know, the stuff I didn't get to see is great. I know, you know, I don't know exactly where I would cut because, again, I didn't see the whole budget. But I mean, I trust that the board is doing what is best for our children right now, and I've always trusted that they were, you know, financially I don't think I've ever questioned the financial decisions the board has made for the schools. So yeah, I would support it. I don't, besides getting a whole 100% look at every little dime that's being spent, you know, I would support the budget, especially from what I just heard. Thank you for filling me in. Appreciate it.
Kathy?
So this year, we have $13 million in federal funds, ESSER money, and our team at RCPS has been working so hard to make sure that we utilize those funds to their absolute fullest. And so there are floors, like Kevin mentioned, but also programs, and also our strategic planning project. So keep in mind when you look at the budget that there's this $13 million that is not coming from our community to build all of this awesome stuff. I mean, I think our schools are going to physically get a makeover, which is really, really exciting. In terms of per pupil costs, they match the Vermont state average. So we're right where everyone in the state is, and the budget itself hasn't increased. If you remove the ESSER funds, we're where we were. So, which is amazing because inflation has skyrocketed, and we've managed to keep it pretty close to baseline.
Thank you. Ryan?
I am somebody who almost never approves of cuts, especially to school budgets. Teachers are already grossly underpaid enough, I believe at least. I've been affected by cuts to healthcare. My spouse was a music educator. Cuts to healthcare, not approving salary steps on a yearly basis. Of course, you know, I definitely feel greatly about music and all arts. I think that often it doesn't get the support that it needs. So I always push for more arts education. I also think that social work is an important thing to have, you know, to throw more money into, no matter what. Just because, especially if we are having, you know, issues around, I mean, honestly, nationwide, you know, with bullying, you know, social work is the way that we get through to kids.
Great. All right. Next round of questions. We are going to Kathy. And it is, what issues do you believe the district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings? What changes would you recommend?
Well, interesting you should ask that question, because we've been working really hard this fall with an organization called Battelle for Kids. They're a nonprofit, working with us to do some strategic planning and identify some competencies that we need to focus on. So all of that work is in progress. So I actually don't want to speak to that because I want to see what Portrait of a Graduate looks like and what the next steps with that program look like. Everyone's been working super hard. I think we need to focus on more pandemic recovery. I mean, we're all sort of feeling like it's getting better, but the kids really missed out on being in school for all that time, and the structure and the social contact. So I think if I were going to suggest anything, it would be more to help kids get back academically and socially back on track to where they should be for their age.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah. I would definitely agree with Kathy on this one. You know, having at the beginning of the pandemic, when lockdowns were happening, and I had a 5- and a 3-year-old in my house, you know, those are hugely important ages for social development, and even, you know, they're learning so much every single day. And it was a challenging time for everybody, parents and especially kids. You know, remote learning we learned is not a proper substitute for actual in-school learning. So getting kids back on track to that point is definitely huge. And so seeing just kind of how we can support the kids in a way that that they can, like you said, get back to their proper their proper development for their age is definitely the best way to figure out how to go from here.
Thank you. Heather.
Can you repeat the question one more time so I
Sure,
can
sure.
form my answer?
What issues do you believe the district needs to address in its academic programs and offerings, and what changes would you recommend?
So I don't specifically see issues. I think that the community and the school district is doing a great job. They really pivoted during COVID because we were all hit by COVID like a brick wall. The world shut down literally, and we did all learn that remote learning is not ideal, but I feel like the teachers did an incredible job making it happen anyway, figuring out how to make it happen. And many of them had kids of their own at home that they're tandemly teaching and teaching their class. So the fact that we all survived that is a blessing in itself. Moving forward, now that we're back in school, different age groups are facing different issues. The youngest, kindergartners, first, second graders, kindergartners were the COVID babies that had never been away from home because they couldn't be. So, offering them programs and things that are fun to transition is huge. And I think our teachers are doing a great job in that. I know the elementary schools have a different transition program than they used to, which is great. And as the kids are older, I have a third grader now she was in kindergarten. So she, when COVID hit, was just learning ABCs and making friends and then went home. So those kids are now learning, still spelling words, the basic things that they should have learned before, but it's just hard to do at home. So I think the schools and teachers are doing an amazing job. And if anything, focusing on more activities, focusing on the arts, focusing on things that maybe suffered a little during COVID, remote learning, are great opportunities for our kids to keep them stimulated and keeping them excited. But as a whole, I have no complaints.
Thank you. Kevin.
Well, as other people have suggested, we've had a number of a big challenge with COVID. The education, there were so many kids at different developmental stages that missed out on the socialization and other parts of learning that go along with being in school. And we're just beginning to figure out how to address that and how to remediate those kinds of situations. But also, our technology and our world is changing really dramatically and at a rate that we've never seen before. And it seems to keep going faster and faster and faster. So one of the things that we talked about in the Portrait of a Graduate program was how to prepare our kids for that ever-changing world and having good communication skills, collaboration skills, flexibility to be able to identify their own skills and how they can be applied in different situations as the economy evolves and as technology changes. Our kids are going to need to be, the forecast was that they're going to need to be changing jobs on a much more consistent basis. Like our parents got a job and they stayed in that job for most of their career. That's not going to be the future our kids have. So we as a school need to prepare them for that. And the whole Portrait of a Graduate process is how our district is addressing that, and implementing that will be something we'll be doing in the next couple of years.
Thank you, Kevin. Mary.
I'd like to know more about the graduate portrait.
Portrait of a Graduate.
Okay, Portrait of a Graduate. I'll look at that. But anyways, I would be more of an advocate for adapting as opposed to changing or adding to what they already have. I know when I went to school, we had home ec. We learned how to cook. We learned how to balance checkbook. We learned how to sew. We learned how to life skills. I think even though the program still exists today, it's not as in-depth as it was. I think that's what our children are lacking now, simple life skills, making themselves food if mom's not home. I love the arts. I'm an artist myself. I do all kinds of art. So I think the arts is very, very important. I think that we have these plans called Yes Plan at the high school level, and they have it similar at the middle school level, but I don't know the name of the program. But it's called Yes Plan, and at the end of the year, the students have to complete 2 weeks of whatever they choose to do, whether it's hiking, biking, community service, or what have you. And then once they complete that, then they can graduate. If they don't complete that, they can't finish that grade. I think that they should build on that and put more programs into that the kids like to do. Whether it be, welding, have Stafford Technical Center work with them. I think we need more of the arts program. I think we need more life skills. I think we need more trades in the schools. A lot of kids are getting out of school and going right to trade work. Some of them aren't even going to college. They'd rather just get their hands in and start moving. So I think that's what I would support is be more of an advocate for adapting to what the children need because of the pandemic that had happened. They lost a lot. So,
Thank you. All right. I think we have time for one more question. We're going to kick that one off with Heather this time. And it is, could you support a board decision you did not vote in favor of? Why or why not?
I see the board as a team. So with any team, there are people that look different ways, have different views, do things differently. So it's important to have a board that first and foremost can communicate, can work together to share ideas and share in anything. You'll have people, anytime you have a group of people, you'll have differing ideas. So I think it's important to have a board that's able to communicate and share why their ideas are different and why they support their ideas. And yes, at the end of the day, one idea in theory will be chosen, or perhaps views can be molded to mix and to find the best suitable option for our children, our staff, and our communities. But that's not possible without a board that can communicate. So I feel like that is extremely important, and I feel that I hope that I could be a part of a board that could communicate, and that's a strength that I do have, and I would love to be a part of that. And I feel like absolutely I could support, even if I came into an issue perhaps looking a different way, communicating with others and understanding why their differing idea, why they are so passionate about it, and how everyone could meet for the better of the community, the better of our children and our staff. I absolutely would support that.
Thank you. Kevin.
Oddly enough, there aren't that many times when the board is in disagreement. Most of our decisions are unanimous. And when we do disagree, I think there's respect for disagreement, and I think that's responsible and understanding. And as Heather said, we're a group of 11 people that needs to make decisions together. We're not going to fully agree with everything everyone else says, but having respect for the other board members and their opinions is really important. And we need to present as a role model to the community for how we make decisions and disagree respectfully, and I think that's really important, because when we don't do that, we get on the news, and it's not it's not good publicity. It's not good role modeling for our children and for our students. And so yeah, I think respect for differing opinions, even if you don't agree with them, is important.
Thank you. Mary.
Again, yeah, I think supporting one another is important. I think that if I wasn't 100% on board with the decision that the board was making, I would support it, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here for what I want and what I think needs to be happening. I'm here for the advocate of the children, the students, the parents, the taxpayers, the community, teachers, myself, my own children. I'm here to support people, and we're all different. We all don't think the same. We all have our reasons, And I would definitely take into consideration what everybody had to say about their feelings about a situation that has come up to the board that we need to make a decision on. And I would 100% support the decision that was made by the board, whether I was 100% in agreement with it or not, if that is the best that we can do for the community and the children at that time. I would support it.
So the board functions as a whole, and so it is not one individual. The president or the chair of the board can be the voice of the board as a whole. So it's really important to support board decisions. There is a framework, Robert's Rules, which everyone kind of shudders when Robert's Rules is mentioned, but it does give a framework for discussing topics where there might be differing opinions. So it sort of just gives a little space so that you can voice an opinion that you think someone might not want to hear. And so that's really helpful. And that was one thing that I learned over the past 3 years is how Robert's Rules works to facilitate a meeting and facilitate topics where there are differing opinions. But it's really important to support the decisions of the board.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, I definitely would, even if you aren't in total agreement with decisions being made, it is very important to be able to accept it. It's one of those things that has been largely on a large scale, accepting a decision has been a little bit ignored, and respecting that decision that has been made. And not just like in Rutland, but a lot of different places around the nation that have had that issue. Compromise is definitely where I think that we could easily have a strength on a school board. And it goes to show, how we can be role models to our community. And, it's an important part of decision making is you can't necessarily be an autocrat a part of it. You have to work with others and make sure that you represent yourself as best as possible, but at the end of the day, if a decision is made, you have to stand by it.
Thank you. All right, thank you, everyone. That's the end of our questions. Now I'd like to invite the candidates to take 90 seconds each to share their closing remarks. And we will start with Mary.
Okay. I just want to say thank you for hosting this wonderful TV time. I'm not really a TV person, but I just want to say that, again, I'm a mother of 9, 4 of which have been through the system. I'm here to I'm running for a seat on the board so that I can help the community. I think the community is made up of all different diversities, all different people, cultures. It's made up of students, staff, teachers, taxpayers, elderly, young, youth. It's made up of everything. It makes us a community. And I think that by supporting the community and what's best for it is what I would like. It was what I'm here to do. And I just want to thank you for letting me come and speak tonight. Thank you.
Kathy?
So it's really clear to me that we all have the best interest of our students at heart. What I can offer to the board is the continuity and the momentum from my previous experience on the board. And what's more, especially as board clerk this past year, I gained an understanding of how to use Robert's Rules to facilitate civil dialogue around important issues in a public meeting. Thank you, PEG TV, for hosting the forum, and thank you for watching and for voting.
Ryan?
I can sum up my campaign in 3 words: artistry, inclusivity, and perspective. These are all things I will bring to the school board. We need people who will work together to ensure that the Rutland City public school system has opportunities for all students, and that our faculty and staff have the support that they need to help our young people thrive. Those of you who have recently graduated from the school, you need to make your voices heard. Town meeting day is 6 days away. Find someone who will go vote with you. Local elections are immensely important and are often overlooked because we don't hear about it on a large scale. March 7th, make your voice heard.
Thank you. Heather.
Well, I just wanted to echo, thank you for having me here. This was a great event, and it was so nice to meet everybody else, all of the other people running. Some I had never met before, some I've just seen at other school board meetings. I'm excited for this opportunity. As a mom of 4 kids, I've been actively involved in our Rutland City Public Schools for 9 years now, and I'm still just at the beginning. Next year I'll have children in 4 different Rutland City schools. My oldest will be a freshman in high school. I'll have 1 in the middle school, 1 in Rutland Intermediate School, and 1 entering the elementary school as a kindergartner. So I feel like I would be a great representative as a consumer of our local schools. I'm excited about what's to come. I'm excited about our teachers, our staff, and what our school system has done so far. And I'm excited for the opportunity to possibly be a representative for our students, for our parents, and for our community. Many parents and many community members don't have the time or can't get involved actively because of work constraints, because of time constraints. So I would love to be given the opportunity to step forward and do that, and I feel as though I bring a lot to the table. This is a great opportunity, and I just want to encourage everyone to get out and vote, because every vote does count, and it's important to be a voice for our community and support our children, because truthfully, our children are the future of our community.
Thank you. Kevin.
I too want to thank PEG TV, the Rutland Herald, and you, Jim, for hosting us tonight. It's a great opportunity for people to get to see and hear the candidates who are running for a school board. I guess I'm going to steal Ryan's 3 words. I'm going to go with rational, responsible, and reliable. That's been my experience on the school board, and I'd like to continue serving. It's a challenging job at times, but it's a really important job as well. And I appreciate you watching tonight. I'd like to encourage everybody to get out and vote, and I think that's it.
Well, again, thank you to our candidates, Ryan Carney, Heather Hauk, Kevin Kiefaber, Mary McDonald, and Kathy Solsa. And a special thank you tonight to our partners at PEG TV for recording and rebroadcasting this discussion between now and Town Meeting Day on March 7th. Please exercise your right to vote. And I'd also like to invite everyone to join us tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Paramount Theater in downtown Rutland, where we'll be hosting our final forum. It's a in-person mayoral forum where the city's 2 candidates for mayor will answer questions submitted by voters. That is tomorrow night at the Paramount Theater at 6 p.m. I'm Jim Sabataso for the Rutland Herald and PEG TV. Thank you and have a great night.